There's a silent, invisible force at work in our financial lives, one that systematically destroys wealth. And here's the scary part. It affects almost everyone, whether you're earning $30,000 a year or $500,000. It doesn't feel like a mistake. No, it feels like progress. And that is precisely what makes it so incredibly dangerous. This is the story of that trap.
So let me tell you about two brothers, Carter and Colton. They had the same parents, went to the same school, basically the same start in life. Fast forward to today, Carter books last-minute flights just because he feels like it, without even a second thought about his bank account. His brother, Colton, though, he earns nearly double what Carter does, but he spends his Sunday nights anxiously refreshing his banking app, just hoping the numbers have somehow magically changed. Of course, they never do. And this is the central mystery, isn't it? Colton earns more money. So how on earth is it possible that he has almost nothing to show for it? Now, this isn't a story about luck or some genius stock pick. It's about a trap. And believe me, it's one that has ensnared millions of people across every single generation. This trap has a name: lifestyle inflation. It's that all too familiar tendency where every time you get a raise, your spending just rises right along with it. The apartment gets a little nicer, the car gets a little newer, the restaurants get a little fancier. None of it feels like a bad decision at the time. It just feels like, well, like you're moving up in life. But underneath the surface, the gap between what you earn and what you actually keep is shrinking to nothing. And don't think for a second this is some niche problem. A Goldman Sachs survey found that a staggering 41% of American households earning up to $500,000 a year still report living paycheck to paycheck. Just let that sink in for a moment. Nearly half of the people making up to $500,000 a year can't absorb a financial shock. That is not an income problem. That is the trap at work, plain and simple. And what's so fascinating about all this is that it's not new. Not at all. The technology changes, sure. The culture shifts, but the fundamental mechanism of this trap, it's been virtually identical for decades. For the boomers, it was the classic suburban keeping up with the Joneses. A bigger house, a second car in the driveway. For Gen X, it got supercharged by the credit card boom. You could borrow for that upgrade today and worry about paying it off for the next 7 years. For millennials, it was a double whammy of crushing structural costs like student loans, combined with the pressure to spend on the experience economy. And for Gen Z, well, today, the trap is algorithmic. It's frictionless buy now, pay later schemes and a social media feed that is a comparison engine you can never, ever win. Now, here's why. Just telling yourself to spend less is a battle you are almost guaranteed to lose. Trying to fight this thing with willpower alone is like trying to hold back the ocean tide with your bare hands. Our own brains are actually wired to work against us. You see, there are 4 hidden psychological scripts that make lifestyle inflation feel almost automatic. First, you've got hedonic adaptation, where the thrill of something new just becomes our new normal. Second is social comparison, where we're constantly measuring our lives against an impossible standard. Then there's the Diderot effect, this strange feeling that one new purchase makes all our old stuff look shabby, which creates a whole spiral of consumption. And finally, present bias, which is just our brain's tendency to overvalue a small reward today over a much, much larger one in the future. Understanding these is the first real step to breaking free. So let's start with hedonic adaptation. That incredible feeling you got from a brand new car or a bigger apartment, it fades. It always does. Your brain recalibrates, and that fancy upgrade very quickly becomes your new normal. And to get that same good feeling again, guess what? You need another upgrade. The thrill disappears, but the monthly payment, that doesn't. Second, social comparison. We are wired as humans to measure our own lives against others. But the thing is, today, our reference point isn't the family next door anymore. It's a globally curated 4K quality, perfectly filtered feed of the top 1%. It's a game that is mathematically impossible to win. And this fuels that third script, the Diderot effect. You buy a beautiful, new, expensive couch, and suddenly your old coffee table looks kind of shabby, so you replace it. And then the rug looks worn out. You see, it's a chain reaction of consumption. All of this is then supercharged by that final script, present bias. Our brains are hardwired to want the small reward now, that new phone, today, over a massive reward later, like, say, a secure retirement. We systematically and unconsciously choose immediate pleasure over long-term freedom. So, we've seen the psychology. Now let's look at the brutal, real-world math. Because the financial cost of these seemingly small upgrades, it's not what you think it is. It's exponentially higher. the sheer power of time really reveals the trap's true cost. Okay, consider two people. Person A starts investing just $400 a month at age 25. Person B waits just 1 decade, a decade filled with nicer apartments and better cars, and starts investing that same amount at 35. By age 65, Person A has nearly $1.4 million. And Person B? They have less than half of that. And here is the absolutely crucial point. That 10-year delay, those 10 years of a slightly nicer life, it didn't just cost the $48,000 extra that Person A invested. No, it cost $800,000 in lost growth. That is the true price of lifestyle inflation. It's not the money you spend, it's the compounded wealth you never ever get the chance to build. Let's just take this to an even bigger scale. That reasonable apartment upgrade, going from a $1,500 a month place to a $2,200 a month, that extra $700 a month, if it were invested over a 40-year career, could have grown to over $2.4 million. The upgrade doesn't cost a few hundred a month. Its opportunity cost is literally millions. So, if willpower is doomed to fail against this psychological and financial onslaught, what's the answer? Well, you have to stop fighting a battle of discipline. Instead, you have to build systems that make your financial progress automatic. This is one of the most powerful examples from the classic book, The Millionaire Next Door. You've got two men with nearly identical incomes. The attorney, James Ford, he looks successful. Tailored suits, luxury car, house in the best neighborhood. The mobile home dealer, Bubba, he's completely unremarkable. But the attorney's net worth is about $250,000, while Bubba's is over $1 million. Same income, a $900,000 gap in wealth. And this leads to maybe the most important lesson in all of personal finance. As the writer Morgan Housel puts it, wealth is what you don't see. Think about it. The person in the $100,000 car simply has $100,000 less than they did before they bought it. True wealth is the assets you accumulate out of sight. It's the investments, the savings, and the freedom that they buy you. So how do you actually build these systems? First, automate your future. The very next time you get a raise, automatically divert half of it straight to your investments before you even get a chance to miss it. Second, add friction to your spending. For any non-essential purchase over, say, $100, enforce a 48-hour waiting period. This simple delay lets that initial emotional impulse fade. Third, practice conscious spending. Instead of spreading your money thinly everywhere, decide to spend lavishly on the few things you truly love. Maybe it's travel. And then be absolutely ruthless in cutting costs on everything else that doesn't bring you real joy. And finally, hunt down your invisible inflation. Go through your bank statements line by line. Every single subscription is a recurring decision to spend. Cancel what you no longer use. Ultimately, it all comes down to this. The hardest skill in finance has absolutely nothing to do with math. It's psychological. It's learning how to get the goalposts to stop moving every single time your income goes up. It's about deciding what enough actually looks like for you, and then letting all the rest of it compound into real, lasting freedom. So I'll leave you with a question, and not in some general, vague terms, but specifically. When was the last time you did an actual audit of how much your own lifestyle has inflated since your last pay increase? This trap thrives on avoidance, but the freedom waiting on the other side of that quiet, simple decision, well, it's immeasurable.